The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council sparkled under the light of 3 artificial suns. Hundreds of alien representatives sat in their designated areas, their quiet whispers filling the massive chamber with a soft hum. At the center of the hall, a hologram flickered to life, displaying an urgent message that would change the course of galactic history. "Do not engage the humans in warfare," the message read. Simple, direct, terrifying. High Counselor West of the Imperial Command leaned forward in his floating chair, his gray skin wrinkling with disapproval. The message had come from the Golden Empire, one of the oldest spacefaring races in the known galaxy. They weren't known for jokes or exaggerations. "Ridiculous," West muttered, his voice carrying through the chamber's perfect acoustics. "A single species cannot be this dangerous. They barely left their solar system 50 years ago." The Council's AI displayed images of Earth's solar system on the massive screens surrounding the hall. 9 planets, countless asteroids, and a relatively young civilization that had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. "Their technology is primitive," announced Admiral Gray, the Empire's military advisor. "Our scans show they still use chemical rockets for their civilian ships. Their military vessels are unimpressive." He moved his hand through the holographic display, showing various human spacecraft designs. High Commander Reed of Earth's Defense Force would have laughed if he could have heard them. At that very moment, he stood in Earth's primary defense center, deep within the Rocky Mountains, watching as Imperial scout ships approached the solar system's edge. "They're right on schedule," Reed said to his staff, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of monitoring screens. "Let them come closer. Let them think they're undetected." Back in the council chamber, the debate continued. "We should proceed with standard protocol," West declared. "Send scouts, assess their military capability, and if they resist our authority, we begin subjugation procedures." Only one representative objected, a small, ancient being from the Outer Rim. "The Golden Empire doesn't send warnings without reason," it whispered. "Perhaps we should investigate further before." "Enough," West interrupted. "We are the Galactic Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. These humans will learn their place, like all others before them." The vote was quick and nearly unanimous. The Empire would proceed with their standard first contact protocols. Only the small being from the Outer Rim abstained, quietly recording everything in its personal database. 3 days later, the Empire's scout fleet crossed into the solar system. Their ships, sleek and powerful, moved with practiced precision. Admiral Gray himself commanded the operation from his flagship. "No signs of advanced detection systems," his sensor officer reported. "Their primitive satellites are easily avoided." Gray smiled. "Proceed to their 4th planet. We'll establish a forward base there before making contact." In his mountain command center, Reed watched the Imperial ships with growing amusement. "They really can't detect our defense grid, can they?" he asked his chief engineer. "No, sir," the engineer replied, grinning. "The quantum camouflage is working perfectly. They're flying right through our kill zones without a clue." Reed nodded and pressed a button on his command console. Across the solar system, hidden weapons platforms powered up, their existence completely hidden from Imperial sensors. Earth's defense grid, built over 30 years of secret preparation, was ready. "Send the message," Reed ordered. In the Imperial flagship, Gray's communication officer suddenly straightened. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Earth." "Put it through," Gray commanded, expecting pleas for mercy or offers of surrender. Instead, a simple text message appeared on his screen. "You were warned. Final chance to retreat." Gray laughed. "How primitive. They think they can threaten us with words." He turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare tow." He never finished the sentence. Across the solar system, Earth's defense grid activated. Thousands of hidden platforms revealed themselves, surrounding the Imperial scout fleet in a complex 3-dimensional web of weaponry. Back in the council chamber, West received an urgent message. The scout fleet had gone silent. All ships lost. No distress calls. No signs of battle. They had simply vanished. And in the outer rim, a small being added a new entry to its database. The humans were kind enough to give them a warning. The Empire should have listened. The first shots of the war hadn't even been fired yet, but humanity had already won the opening move. The real question was, what other surprises did they have waiting? The Imperial War Room fell silent as Admiral Gray's final transmission played again. Unknown weapons. Everywhere. Cannot escape. Then static. Just static. High Counselor West slammed his fist on the holographic display. Launch the invasion fleet. Show these humans what real power looks like. The Empire's response was massive. 5,000 warships jumped into the solar system, their weapons charged. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a continent. The fleet spread out in the Empire's standard attack formation, a move that had conquered hundreds of worlds. From his command center, High Commander Reed watched the invasion force appear on his screens. He took a sip from his coffee mug, completely calm. "Right where we want them," he said. "Activate Phase 2. The Empire's Fleet Admiral, Lord Blake, stood proudly on his command ship's bridge. "Launch our first wave. Standard subjugation pattern." He smiled as 10,000 missiles streaked toward Earth, their trails forming beautiful patterns against the stars. That's when humanity revealed their first real surprise. Thousands of small, unmanned drones suddenly appeared, emerging from their hidden positions among the asteroid belt. Each one was smaller than a car, making them almost invisible to Imperial scanners. They moved with impossible speed, intercepting the missiles with precise laser bursts. "Impossible," Lord Blake shouted as he watched every single missile disappear from his tactical display. Not one had made it even halfway to Earth. Reed's voice crackled through every Imperial communication channel. "Our turn." Earth's defense platforms revealed themselves again, but this time they didn't just surround the enemy. They attacked. Quantum-tipped missiles phased through Imperial shields like they didn't exist. Gravity weapons created miniature black holes that crushed entire ships. Electromagnetic pulses turned sophisticated Imperial warships into floating metal coffins. Their weapons, screamed a tactical officer aboard Blake's flagship. "They're not following any known physics." "Because we didn't let you know about these physics." Reed's voice came again, calm as ever. "You see, we've been watching your empire for decades, learning your weaknesses, preparing." Lord Blake watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart by weapons he couldn't understand. Ships vanished into temporary wormholes, only to reappear inside out. Others were caught in time dilation fields, their crews experiencing months of battle in what seemed like seconds to everyone else. "Fall back," Blake ordered. "Emergency jump tow." A new wave of human weapons activated. Jump drives across the Imperial fleet suddenly failed. They were trapped. In the Galactic Council chamber, West received the reports with growing panic. Half the invasion fleet was destroyed in the first hour. By the second hour, only 100 ships remained. None of them could escape. "How?" West whispered. "They were primitive. They barely had space travel." The small being from the outer rim spoke up again. "They let you think that. They showed you what they wanted you to see. Humans have a saying. The greatest trick in warfare is making your enemy underestimate you." Lord Blake's flagship was one of the last to fall. Before his ship's core went critical, he managed to send one final message to the Council. "Do not send more ships. Cannot win. Humans, they don't fight like anyone we've ever seen. They don't follow the rules of war. The transmission ended in static, just like Gray's had. In his mountain command center, Reed looked at the battlefield displays. Debris from the Imperial fleet floated harmlessly in space, carefully contained by Earth's cleanup drones. Not a single piece of human technology had been lost. "Send the message," Reed ordered. Across the galaxy, every Imperial communication device received the same transmission. "This was your lesson in humility. There will not be another. The next fleet you send will not receive a warning. In the council chamber, West finally understood the truth. They hadn't started a war against a primitive species. They'd walked into a trap set by a civilization that had been preparing for this moment for years. And somewhere in the outer rim, a small being added another entry to its database. First blood has been drawn. The Empire has learned its first lesson about humans. Never mistake patience for weakness. The real war hadn't even started yet. This was just humanity's opening move, a demonstration of what happens when you ignore a warning. Bring me everything we have. High Counselor West's voice echoed through the Imperial Palace. Every ship, every soldier. I want these humans to learn what happens when they defy the Empire. The Empire's response shook the galaxy. 20,000 warships gathered at the Empire's main military base. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. The ships blocked out the light of nearby stars, creating an artificial night in the system. Admiral Stone of Earth's Space Force watched the gathering fleet through advanced spy drones. Unlike Reed's defensive focus, Stone specialized in offensive operations. She stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Thunderchild, planning humanity's next move. They're preparing something big, her intelligence officer reported. Their ships are carrying planet-killer weapons. Stone smiled. Good. Let them bring their biggest guns. It'll make them easier to spot. She turned to her crew. Launch Operation Hide and Seek. The Empire's massive fleet jumped into Earth's solar system all at once. The space-time distortion was so large it made Jupiter's moons wobble in their orbits. This time, they appeared much closer to Earth, trying to prevent the humans from reacting. Lord Commander Rex, the Empire's most decorated warrior, led the attack. Find their defense platforms. Destroy everything. But the platforms were gone. The entire defense network that had destroyed their previous fleets had vanished. Earth hung in space, seemingly defenseless. Rex laughed. They ran out of tricks. All ships begin thee. That's when humanity revealed their second surprise. Small dots appeared on Imperial scanners. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. Human ships, each no bigger than a shuttle, emerged from hidden positions all around the Imperial fleet. Ignore them, Rex ordered. They're too small to hurt our battleships. He was wrong. The small human ships moved like angry wasps, too fast for Imperial weapons to track. They carried no weapons the Empire could detect. Instead, each ship was itself a weapon, a delivery system for swarms of microscopic robots. Our shields, an Imperial officer screamed. Something's eating through them. The nanobots invaded the Imperial ships through their own weapon ports and engine exhausts. Within minutes, mighty warships began shutting down as their systems were consumed from the inside out. Stone's voice broadcast across all channels. Welcome to human-style space warfare. We don't believe in fair fights. Rex watched in horror as his fleet fell into chaos. The tiny human ships weren't just attacking. They were hurting the Imperial vessels, forcing them into clusters. It's a trap, he realized too late. Right on cue, Earth's missing defense platforms reappeared. They hadn't gone anywhere. They had simply moved inside the Empire's own fleet formation while cloaked. The platforms opened fire from point-blank range. Status report. West demanded from the safety of the council chamber. 5,000 ships lost in the first 10 minutes, his aide reported, voice shaking. The humans, they're not fighting like a proper military. Their ships ignore all standard combat patterns. They're fighting like we've been fighting wars since before we discovered fire. Stone's voice cut in, somehow broadcasting directly into the council chamber. You fight like soldiers. We fight like humans. The Empire's mighty fleet died by inches. Some ships vanished into artificial black holes. Others found their crews frozen in time bubbles. The lucky ones managed to jump away, their crews broken and terrified. Lord Commander Rex's flagship was one of the last to fall. His final transmission chilled even West's blood. They're not just prepared. They're enjoying this. They turned warfare into an art form. In her command ship, Stone watched the Imperial retreat with professional satisfaction. Send the cleanup crews and transmit our message to the Council. The message appeared on every screen in the Council chamber. 3 strikes, and the game gets serious. Would you like to continue playing? The small being from the outer rim made another database entry. Strike 3 demonstrated a crucial truth about humans. They don't just study war, they perfect it. The Empire is learning this lesson the hard way. The real question now was, would the Empire finally listen, or would they need another lesson in human warfare? The Empire's war room had changed. Gone were the proud displays of military might. Instead, every screen showed data about humans and their fighting methods. High Counselor West stared at the reports, his confidence replaced by growing fear. They don't make sense, he muttered. Every time we think we understand their weapons, they show us something new. A new fleet was gathering, but this time the Empire tried something different. They brought in their best military scientists and engineers. Each ship was modified with new defenses against human weapons. We've studied their attacks, the head scientist explained. Our ships are now protected against their nanobots, time bubbles, and gravity weapons. In Earth's orbital command station, Admiral Stone watched the Empire's preparations through their spy network. She turned to High Commander Reed, who had joined her for this phase of the war. They're learning, Stone said. They've adapted to everything we've shown them. Reed smiled. Good thing we haven't shown them everything. He pressed a button on his command console. Begin Operation Ghost Fleet. The Empire's new fleet entered the solar system carefully this time. 5,000 ships, each heavily shielded against known human weapons. They moved in a defensive formation, scanning constantly for the small attack ships that had devastated their previous fleet. Fleet Master Ward commanded from his upgraded flagship. No signs of human vessels, he reported. Their defense platforms are also hidden. Then Earth revealed their next surprise. It started with static. Imperial communications began breaking down. Their sensors showed random readings. Navigation systems displayed impossible coordinates. Electronic warfare, Ward realized. Shield the systems. But this wasn't normal electronic warfare. The humans had weaponized the varied fabric of space-time, creating zones where electronics simply couldn't function properly. Physics itself turned against Imperial technology. How do we fight an enemy we can't detect? Ward shouted as his ship's systems went crazy. How do we shoot at something when our weapons don't even work? That's when they saw them. Human ships, bigger than before, appearing out of nowhere. They didn't show up on sensors because they bent light around themselves. They didn't appear on energy scans because they absorbed all emissions. They were literal ghosts in space. Remember how we let you study our previous weapons? Reed's voice echoed through the failing Imperial communications. That was just to keep you busy while we deployed our real fleet. The ghost ships moved through Imperial formations like they weren't even there. Physical weapons passed right through them. Energy weapons were absorbed or reflected back. Each ghost ship carried weapons that ignored shields completely, phasing through hull armor like it was mist. In the council chamber, West received desperate messages from the fleet. Cannot engage. Weapons have no effect. They're everywhere and nowhere. Our technology means nothing. The small being from the outer rim spoke up again. You still don't understand. Humans don't just build better weapons. They change the rules of how weapons work. Ward watched his mighty fleet fall apart without even landing a single hit on the enemy. The ghost ships weren't just destroying Imperial vessels. They were doing it with a precision that terrified him. Each shot disabled rather than destroyed. Each attack preserved the crew while neutralizing their ability to fight. They're not trying to kill us, he realized. They're trying to send a message. Indeed, every captured Imperial ship received the same transmission. Your weapons are useless. Your shields are meaningless. Your technology is nothing against what we haven't even shown you yet. Take this message back to your empire. The battle ended not with a bang, but with a whisper. The ghost fleet simply vanished, leaving disabled Imperial ships floating in space. Rescue vessels would find the crews alive but shaken, each with stories about fighting an enemy that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. In the orbital station, Reed and Stone watched the Imperial rescue operation. "Should we stop them?" Stone asked. "No," Reed replied. "Let them rescue their people. Let them hear the stories. Let them understand that we could have killed them all, but chose not to." The small being made another entry. "The Empire learned their fourth lesson about humans today. They don't just break the rules of war, they rewrite them entirely." The question remained, how many more lessons would the Empire need? The Imperial Archive was normally a quiet place, but today it echoed with the panicked voices of military leaders as they studied human history. What they found terrified them more than any weapon. Their entire history is warfare, an Imperial historian reported to High Counselor West. They fought over everything. Land, resources, beliefs, even words. They've spent more time at war than at peace. West stared at the historical records. How many wars? Over 15,000 recorded conflicts just on their home planet, the historian replied. And they remember every single one. They learn from each war, adapt, improve. Meanwhile, on Earth's Mars command base, Admiral Stone prepared humanity's next move. "They're finally studying us," she told her staff. "Took them long enough." "Should we show them our civilian fleet now?" her second-in-command asked. Stone nodded. Time for them to learn about human resourcefulness. The Empire had gathered a new fleet, smaller but more specialized. They thought they had finally understood human warfare. They were wrong. Their scanners picked up movement from Earth's direction, but instead of military vessels, they saw cargo ships, mining vessels, passenger cruisers, hundreds of civilian craft moving toward them. Fleet Commander Mills laughed. "They're desperate. They're sending civilian ships against us." Then humanity revealed their next surprise. The cargo ships opened to reveal hidden weapon ports. Mining vessels powered up military-grade shields. Passenger cruisers launched swarms of combat drones. Every civilian ship in the human fleet was a wolf in sheep's clothing. "Did you think we only built weapons into our warships?" Stone's voice broadcasted across Imperial channels. "Everything we build is designed to fight if needed. We learned that lesson thousands of years ago." The transformed civilian fleet attacked with devastating efficiency. Cargo ships released specially designed combat containers that attached to Imperial vessels like parasites. Mining ships used their industrial-grade cutting beams as weapons. Even space tourism vessels had hidden military capabilities. Impossible. Mills watched his fleet being torn apart by ships that shouldn't have been a threat. "These are civilian vessels." "No," Stone replied. "These are human vessels. Everything we build can be turned into a weapon. It's in our nature." In the council chamber, West received the reports with growing horror. The Empire's military doctrine was falling apart. How do you fight an enemy whose entire civilization is built for war? The small being from the outer rim spoke again. "Humans don't separate their civilian and military technology. They build everything with conflict in mind. It's not paranoia, it's preparation." The battle turned into a massacre. Imperial ships, designed purely for combat, found themselves outmaneuvered by vessels that shouldn't have been able to fight at all. Mining lasers cut through military armor. Cargo loading equipment was used to tear ships apart. Even passenger vessel life support systems were weaponized, creating zones of unbreathable space. "This isn't a fleet," Mills realized in his final transmission. "This is their way of life. Everything they build, everything they do, can be used for war." Stone watched from her command ship as the Imperial fleet retreated in chaos. "Send the message," she ordered. Every screen in the Imperial Palace displayed the same words. "What you saw today was our merchant fleet. Would you like to see what our actual combat reserves look like?" In his private chamber, West reviewed everything they'd learned about humans, their defensive networks, their ghost fleets, their weaponized civilian ships, and worst of all, the certainty that they hadn't shown everything they could do. How? He whispered. How did they become like this? The small being made another database entry. The Empire learned their fifth lesson about humans today. They don't just practice warfare, they live it. Every human is a potential soldier. Every tool is a potential weapon. Every moment is potential combat. The Empire had started this war thinking they were facing a primitive species. Now they realized they had attacked a civilization that had turned warfare into an art form, preparation into a way of life, and peace into a carefully maintained choice rather than a natural state. And somewhere on Earth, humanity prepared to reveal even more surprises. The Imperial Palace shook with angry voices as High Counselor West made his final desperate decision. Activate the Starbreaker, he commanded. If we cannot defeat them conventionally, we will make an example of their son. The Starbreaker was the Empire's ultimate weapon, a massive device capable of forcing a star to go supernova. It had never been used before, kept only as a last resort. Now, in their desperation, they planned to destroy humanity's home star. On Earth, High Commander Reed and Admiral Stone watched the Empire's massive weapon appear at the edge of the solar system. It was bigger than a moon, its surface covered with technology designed to manipulate stellar matter. They actually brought it, Reed said, looking at the massive weapon. Right on schedule. Stone nodded. Shall we show them why we let them bring it here? Deep in space, the Starbreaker began its approach toward the sun. Its commander, Lord General Pike, felt confident for the first time since the war began. Let's see how the humans fight when their star is about to explode. Then humanity revealed their biggest surprise yet. The space around the Starbreaker suddenly lit up. Hidden stations, perfectly positioned over decades, activated all at once. They created a massive energy field that completely surrounded the Empire's superweapon. Did you think we didn't know about your Starbreaker? Reed's voice echoed through every Imperial channel. We've been preparing for it for 20 years. In fact, we built our trap specifically for it. Pike watched in horror as his mighty weapon became trapped in humanity's energy field. Impossible. No one knew about the Starbreaker. It was our most guarded secret. We knew. Stone's voice joined in. We've had spies in your empire since before you knew we existed. We knew about the Starbreaker before you finished building it. Then, from behind every planet, moon, and asteroid in the solar system, Earth's hidden fleet appeared. Not the defense platforms, not the ghost ships, not the converted civilian vessels. This was humanity's real combat fleet. Thousands of warships, each specifically designed to counter Imperial technology. This, Reed announced, is what we've been building while we let you chase our decoys. In the council chamber, West watched the tactical display with growing terror. The humans hadn't just prepared for the Starbreaker. They had positioned their entire real fleet to spring a trap the moment it arrived. The small being from the outer rim spoke one last time. They didn't just plan for your attack. They planned for your desperation. They knew you would bring your ultimate weapon, and they waited for it. The battle that followed wasn't really a battle at all. Earth's true military fleet struck with overwhelming force. Ships that made their previous vessels look primitive tore through Imperial defenses like paper. Weapons that dwarfed anything they'd shown before reduced the mighty Starbreaker to scrap metal in minutes. This is humanity's real military power. Stone broadcasted as the Starbreaker fell apart. Everything else was just us playing with you. Pike managed one final transmission before his superweapon exploded. They let us bring the Starbreaker here. They wanted us to bring it. This whole war, they planned everything. Back on Earth, Reed and Stone watched the Empire's greatest weapon burn. Send the final message, Reed ordered. Every Imperial screen displayed the same words. Your strongest weapon is destroyed. Your military might is broken. Your empire stands defenseless. Remember, You started this war. We are choosing to end it. In the Imperial Palace, West finally understood the terrible truth. The humans hadn't just beaten them. They had orchestrated every moment of the war, manipulating the Empire into doing exactly what they wanted. The small being made its final entry about this phase of the war. The Empire learned their most important lesson about humans today. They don't just win wars, they control them. Every move, every battle, every decision was part of their plan from the beginning. As the remains of the Starbreaker drifted in space, one question remained. What would humanity do with their victory? The Imperial Palace's Grand Hall, once a symbol of absolute power, now stood silent. High Counselor West sat alone, staring at the final transmission from Earth. Your surrender will be accepted at 800 hours, Earth Standard Time. Choose wisely. For the first time in its 10,000-year history, the Galactic Empire prepared to surrender. On the deck of Earth's flagship, High Commander Reed and Admiral Stone welcomed the Imperial delegation. West entered with his head bowed, followed by his remaining advisors. You had so many chances to turn back, Reed said, not unkindly. We gave you warning after warning. West looked up. The warning. At the beginning. It wasn't from the Golden Empire, was it? Stone smiled. No, we sent that warning. Through channels we knew you'd ignore, because we needed you to start this war. The truth finally dawned on West's face. You wanted us to attack. But why? Reed gestured to the viewing window. Outside, Earth's true military fleet filled the space around them. Not just warships, but massive construction platforms, research stations, and installations that defied Imperial understanding. Because the galaxy needed to learn, Reed explained, not just your empire, but every spacefaring race. They needed to learn why humans are different. On screens around the room, images appeared showing human history, not just the wars, but the aftermath. How humans rebuilt, adapted, and grew stronger after each conflict. We knew about your empire centuries ago, Stone continued. We watched you conquer peaceful races. We watched you impose your will across the galaxy, and we prepared. West's hands trembled. Centuries. But you only achieved spaceflight. We achieved what we wanted you to see, Reed corrected. Everything we showed your scouts, every primitive technology you detected, was carefully crafted to draw you in. In the council chamber, representatives from across the galaxy watched the surrender proceedings. The small being from the outer rim finally revealed itself as a human observer who had been monitoring the Empire for decades. The terms of surrender were surprisingly gentle. Earth didn't demand territory or resources. They asked for just one thing: a complete rewriting of the Empire's first contact protocols. From now on, Reed declared, every spacefaring civilization will receive this warning. Before you venture into the stars, remember humanity. Remember what happened to the Empire that ignored their warning. Stone added, we don't want to rule. We don't want to conquer. We just want everyone to understand. Humans will not be subjugated. Ever. West signed the surrender document with a shaking hand. All this power, this technology, why didn't you use it to conquer us first? Reed's answer chilled every Imperial representative to their core. Because we're not like you. We don't want to dominate the galaxy. We just want to make sure no one else does either. As the Imperial delegation departed, Earth's true defense grid revealed itself. A vast network of stations and satellites extending far beyond the solar system. Technology that made everything they'd shown in the war look primitive. Remember, Stone called after them. What you saw in this war wasn't our strength. It was our restraint. In the days that followed, the galaxy changed. The Empire's military doctrine was completely rewritten, starting with a new first rule. In the event of contact with human civilization, remember the warning. The small being, now revealed as Captain Miller of Earth's Deep Cover Division, made his final entry. Operation Teaching Moment is complete. The galaxy has learned its lesson about humanity. We are not warmongers, but we are not victims either. We are the guardians they never knew they needed. As Earth's mighty fleet returned to its hidden positions throughout the galaxy, Reed and Stone stood in their command center, looking at the stars. "Do you think they finally understand?" Stone asked. Reed smiled. "They understand enough. They know now that humans aren't just another spacefaring race. We're the ones who watch, who wait, who prepare. And most importantly, we're the ones who warned them." Stone finished. The war was over, but humanity's vigil was eternal. In the vast darkness of space, Earth's hidden fleets resumed their watch, ready to remind anyone who forgot the lesson. Never ignore a warning from humans.